Good evening, Daniel here. It's been a couple of weeks since I've recorded something, so I thought I'd spend a little bit of time tonight just talking about something that has been on my mind lately that I've been talking with a couple of my friends about, and that is, how do you make friends as an adult? What I've noticed is, past a certain age, there is a tendency for grown-up people, people like me, probably people like you if you're watching this, to stop making new friends. We sort of start to shrink our circle of people that we know. Maybe we've gone through college or we've gone through work or something like that, and we've started to kind of have this, boundary of people that we know, and we don't tend to meet as many new people as we used to. I think this is very common, especially if you go into a relationship and you, quote, settle down. If you watch my other videos, you know what I feel about the idea of settling down. I'm not a big fan of it, but most of us at some stage of our life, we start to settle down in some respect. We get into a relationship, we get into a routine with our work, and we do the same thing with our friends. Our circle of influence or our circle of social kind of connection starts to solidify. It starts to shrink in some respects. Now, what I've noticed is if you go through a big life change, such as, say, you move country, or you change jobs, or you get divorced, or you break up from a relationship, suddenly you find yourself kind of in limbo. You're not in this same situation that you used to be. And you might be in this exact situation right now, where you had things a certain way for a long time, and now suddenly they're totally different. So what I've noticed is when this happens, you suddenly realize that maybe you don't have as many good friends as you thought you did. And it's a little bit of an embarrassing, kind of demoralizing, kind of depressing thing to realize sometimes that a lot of your good friends that you used to have, you don't spend as much time with them as you used to. And so what I was thinking about in this video was, how can you, or what have I learned basically about making new friends as an adult? Because I went through this exact problem a couple of years ago. As I've mentioned in other videos, I moved when I was 32 years old from Australia to America, to California, which is an amazing, beautiful place to live, gorgeous and incredible. At the time I was in a relationship, and when that didn't work out, I decided to stay here in California on my own. Now that sounds really cool and exciting, but the reality was that I was on my own a lot of the time. I was kind of stuck at home, or if I wanted to go out, I didn't really have any friends or no family here to hang out with. And so I found myself kind of in this trap of, well, do I go back to what I used to know, which is my old social circle, and those are wonderful people back in Australia, or do I try something new and try to meet new people and expand my horizons? And obviously I'm still here, so you can tell that I chose the second option, which was to try and meet new people and expand my horizons. So what I wanted to talk about was, if I could finally get around to it, was the idea of how. How do you meet new people and how do you make new connections when you're an adult, when you're all grown up and you don't have those regular places like school or college or whatever it is to connect with people? So here are my ideas that have worked for me. Number one is a hobby or an interest. What I've found is that if you pick up some sort of new skill or new interest that you want to learn about, you will find that you'll meet like-minded people who are similar to you. Now, for me, a big part of my life about probably 6 years ago was I joined Toastmasters, which some of you may know what that is, some of you may not know what that is, but it's basically a public speaking club. It's an organization where people can learn to public speak. And you might be thinking, why the hell would you do that? Why would you learn to speak in public? Well, for me, as you probably know if you watch my videos, that's one of my passions. I love speaking, I love sharing ideas, just like I'm doing now. And a way for me to do that was to get in front of an audience. Now, most people that I knew at that stage, when I said I'm going to join Toastmasters, they all said, wow, that sounds really weird. Why are you doing that? And I said, because I'm interested in it. I want to try it. So I took the first steps. I joined a Toastmasters club. I was nervous. I went for the first time. I put myself out there. And lo and behold, I had fun. I actually enjoyed the experience. And on top of that, I met some pretty cool people. So that began my first way of meeting new people, was to find a new interest and a new hobby and start to immerse myself in it. Now, what I would suggest if you're looking for a new hobby is to try something that's a little bit outside of your norm or outside of your comfort zone. So for me, Toastmasters was a good example. For you, it might be something like dancing, it might be something like poetry reading, who knows? It might be something athletic like a CrossFit, or it's some sort of gym membership or something like that. But the key is to do something where you have to actually talk to other people. So team sports are a good idea, or something to do with music or art or something like that. You don't want it to be a solitary kind of exercise or hobby like running or going to the gym or swimming or something like that, because you're spending a lot of time just basically by yourself doing that activity, which is nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't give you that same impetus to just talk to people and naturally start to grow. So that's my first thing, is to expand your horizons through hobbies and interests. Second thing is to be the person who makes plans. And this is something I had to kind of learn almost by default, because everyone that I met, I was kind of the new guy, right? They all had their social circles. They were all set up in relationships. I was the new person from a new town or a new country, and I was the person having to make the effort. So I decided to become the person who just made plans, right? So every week I would think of places I wanted to go, events I wanted to attend, exciting new things that were happening in town. I joined up to a lot of email lists, and I started to subscribe to newsletters and things to basically see what was happening around town. And I chose some things that I was interested in, and I started to, as I got to know people, connect via email or via text, and I would say, hey, on Friday, I'm going to go to this event. Do you want to come along? And guess what? Most people would say yes. Or even if they said no, they'd say, hey, thanks for inviting me. Would love to go another time. So I would know that I suddenly had this kind of plan, and I would involve people in my plans. Now, this is very opposite to what we think we should do, because we think we have to be invited to things. But actually, if you become the person who invites people out to do things, you'll be amazed how few people say no to you. Most people don't have exciting plans up their sleeve. It might seem like it from the outside, but most people past a certain age, I would say especially past the age of 30, they are spending a lot of time at home. So if you have plans or you have ideas of things you want to do, might be once a month or twice a month, invite people. At the start of the month, say, hey, at the end of this month, I'm going to a concert, or I'm going to go on a hike, or I'm going to go traveling to this city, or I'm going to go to this art gallery, or I'm going to go and attend this sports event. Whatever it is for you that is interesting, invite people. And you might pick different people. You might invite two people who don't know each other, but you know them, and you're the commonality. So that's another idea, is to become the person who creates the events and invites people. And you'll be surprised how rarely people actually say no. Most people will say yes if you reach out and invite them. Third idea, which is really, really obvious, is to be nice. And I mean, this might sound really obvious, but you'd be amazed how easy it is when you're out and about meeting people just in a normal everyday world. You're kind of shut down, you're kind of defensive, you're a little bit, sort of selective about who you say hello to. What I've noticed is if I'm just a nice, open person, very often I strike up conversations with people. Now, yes, living in America, I'm a little bit unique because I have a different accent, so people tend to talk to me maybe a bit more than they wouldn't if I had the same accent. I don't know. But what I notice is if I'm standing in line at a coffee shop and someone looks at me, I just look at them and I just say good morning or good afternoon. If I'm waiting somewhere to do something in a grocery line or whatever, I make a comment about something. I say hello to cashiers at stores, things like that. And you'd be amazed how often just being a friendly, kind person makes other people warm to you and resonate to you. Now, if you find that you connect with someone in a social situation, maybe for a minute or two, there's no reason you can't say to the person, hey, here's my email, here's my card, here's my number, whatever, that kind of thing. We should stay in touch. It'd be great to have coffee sometime or to meet up. Now, it doesn't have to be like a creepy kind of pick-up artist date thing. I'm not talking about trying to get dates with people. I'm talking about just genuinely building your social network. You'd be amazed how often I have met someone for maybe a minute or a couple of minutes, and I've really felt like I've had a strong connection with that person. And so I've said to them, hey, you know what? We should stay in contact. And one of the best ways I know today is to add someone on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook or whatever you want to do. And that way, that's a great connection point. And then as you get to know them a bit more, you can feel them out, you comment on some things they're doing. You might send them a direct message and say to them, hey, we should get coffee sometime. We should get a drink. We should go and do an event, something like that. So be kind, be open, be friendly. And the word I would use most of all is be generative. Be the person who is always creating new experiences, connecting other people. Be kind of like the life of the party or the host of a party just in your everyday life. If you know someone who you think would be a great person for someone else to know, connect the two people. Organize drinks together for the three of you or for a group of people. Whatever it is that you feel like you'd like to attend in terms of events or parties or things like that, be the person to create those events, and most of all, be open and kind and friendly. And be persistent. That's the final point, I guess. There's so many points here. Be persistent, because you're not going to make best friends in a week or a month. It's going to take you a couple of years. I found for myself, realistically, it took me probably about 2 to 3 years to find a group of people who really were the kind of people that I wanted to be around. And on that point as well, it wasn't that there was this magic group of people who I discovered who suddenly invited me into their world. What I did was actually consciously create a community of people. So I found one great person, another great person, and I started to befriend them all, and some of them became friends as well. So in a sense, I almost created my own community rather than looking for a community to be part of. But that only happened because I was persistent and I felt like I can do this. I can actually make friends as an adult. Because of that, my life is much richer. I have so many awesome new experiences that I've shared with new people. I've made great new friends, and my life is so much better than if I just said, you know what, I'm giving up on this and I'm going back to what I used to know. So if you're in a situation right now where you're feeling alone, or you're feeling like all your friends have left you, or you don't have people to hang out with, don't give up. Look at things you can do. Look at interests that you can join. Become part of them. Take a risk. Get out of your comfort zone and do it. Do things that involve a community and a group. Second is be the person to create events. Once you meet people, organize new events, things that you can all do together. And then the third thing is to be nice, be open, be friendly when you're out in public, and people will want to be around you. So those are my tips. I hope it's useful for you. It's a great reminder for myself to do those things every day. This is Daniel from Lifestyle Revolution. Thanks again for watching. And as always, thank you very much for improving yourself.